would like to introduce you with two amazing people. First and foremost, I'd like to introduce to William Wigman, who's a founder of HYVA Themes. William has been in a Magento trade for many years. He's been working with Magento platform on full time since 2011 as a developer and different other roles. He's the founder of HYVA Themes, the soul and brain behind it. And on the other hand, we will have our very own Alfred Skilkins from Scandi PWA. He's a CTO of Scandi PWA and one of the creators behind the theme. I've been heavily involved in delivering many projects on that theme and delivering lots of functionality around it. He's built front-end solutions for several Fortune 500 companies, and he'll be joining us in the conversation today. Please welcome both of them.
Hello, William and Alfred.
Hello, and thank you for the introduction.
Hello.
Very nice to meet you both. William, can you give us some intros around you and perhaps a small intro to the product that you're working with?
Yeah, sure. So apart from what you already mentioned, I started building HYVA in June 2020 and launched it as a product in February last year. So the first version was launched about 15 months ago. HYVA is a replacement of the standard template-based front end of Magento. So replacing Luma with something fresh, lightweight, uncomplex, and we just rebuilt it entirely from scratch. Instead of loading in 100 libraries that come with Luma, we just depend on 2 libraries, Alpine.js and Tailwind CSS. They're both very lightweight, and everything we built in the front end is entirely isolated and component based, so that you only use scripts and resources if you're also using a functionality. So it's very lightweight. It's enjoyable to work with. Developers are generally really excited about it, especially if you've worked long enough with Luma. Then you're dying to be rescued from UI components and knockout and all of those old techniques. And yeah, since we launched, we have now about 300 agencies working with HYVA. Almost 700 stores are live, and plenty more are being built. So we're growing really fast. One of the hardest things to tackle was extension vendor support. And that's something we could go into, but maybe not in the context of this panel. But yeah, we're exciting. We're getting the biggest extension vendors on board, so we're seeing a lot of traction there. So soon, also the merchants that rely heavily on pre-built extensions can use HYVA with plug-and-play extensions. So yeah.
One thing I would love to clarify, and I know there's a massive confusion around the globe concerning your product. Is it HYVA, HYVA, HYVA? What's the right name of right way of pronouncing it?
I'm not even wearing the right shirt right now, but usually, quite often, we wear those during presentations because we we made a joke out of it. HYVA is Finnish, and in Finnish it means good and desirable and trustworthy. So it has a really positive meaning, and that's what we put into our product. Like we're here to make people happy, merchants, developers, agency owners, and the right pronunciation, if you ask a Finnish person, would be HYVA. But we're okay with the confusion because the more you discuss it, the more our company name is being repeated. So that's marketing. So We don't mind. Call it HYVA. That's okay.
All right, thank you. Alfred, you're one of the founding team members of the Scandi PWA. You're a CTO in the company, and obviously this solution has been around for a little while now. Can you deep dive a little bit into how is it different from other headless solutions, and just perhaps a short history around it?
Yeah, absolutely. I really loved how William has put his theme, amazing, first of all. And I think some of the approaches were quite, we reused some of them approaches. So we really started to look in what existed on the market 3 years ago. And there wasn't many solutions that we liked, specifically because of the amount of vendors that were used inside. Again, even the PWA Studio today has quite a big set of third-party dependencies that they don't really need. And we aimed for smaller bundles, and we also wanted to keep the amazing extensibility that Magento brought with it on board. So our main goal was to compile into Magento theme, so there would be no requirement to change any infrastructure of your servers. And the second was to bring the possibility of amazing transitions and DOM manipulation that comes with using React. So we took pure React, and we also took Redux, which I don't really admire right now. But we took those two technologies and we put together a theme that utilized the GraphQL API that Magento 2.3 just released. And when it came out, it was empty. So we had to develop quite a huge set of alternative endpoints to GraphQL to make the data accessible. And that's, I think, one of the biggest differences between us. Yeah, we have we are rendered on the client side at the biggest. We are rendered purely on the client side. That's a plus and a minus, both at both. So first of all, we are slower because we are rendered on the client side. We need to fetch all of those JavaScript to render the page. Yet we can use some patterns to overcome this. Yet it's not immediately obvious to most of you and requires some additional setup, like rendertron and rendering something on a server to then bring it out. That's not convenient at all. And so this is a client-side application, first of all, and it renders and returns an empty page, which then gets populated with a JavaScript, with JavaScript templates made in React. And we utilize GraphQL endpoints to fetch data. And this means we have only one entry point into the application, which enables us to optimize it to the hell. So we can do very quick product searching and stuff like this, because we are sure that the information coming to us is properly fetched. And we are working hard to optimize those single entry points, thus avoiding basically the overhead that commonly comes with Magento extensions and a lot of stuff, a lot of things. The performance loading in the loops and stuff like that. With GraphQL, you can actually use some amazing developments of community like batch resolvers and stuff that help you to resolve once for all products that you intend to get on a page. And this leads to faster loading times. And also we are quite a help to people who want to, who have amazing websites, amazing huge websites, like with tons of filters, tons of languages and stuff, because we allow for a very granular caching. Every response you get contains only data you requested, that's GraphQL in its essence, yet you can cache it based on some parameters you are sending in, and construct the page from multiple data sources, getting something from cache, getting some other information outside of the cache. This makes Scandi PWA work much faster in some high-load situations than alternative Magento themes and Magento in general, because it caches by full page. This is basically a slow intro, and we are The most extensible, I mean, I started to speak about this, but yeah, we tried to replicate Magento extensibility in terms of theming and extensions. And I think we quite succeeded with that because every code line in Scalability is extensible. You can modify it from outside, so you can build a publishable package and extend it. And same goes with the themes. And we are now starting to sell themes and extensions on the marketplace. We sold them before too, yet we didn't check so much for quality. So we decided to scrap it all up and do it from scratch again. And currently it gets populated with themes and extensions that we have made within the Scandinavia pages. And we, this is our way right now. I hope that's enough.
To an untrained ear, this might sound quite complex. So do I need a computer science degree to use Scalability, or is it actually quite simple to do?
Well, it depends on what area you're coming from. Most of, like Scandinavia in general, is open for new colleagues. So we hire quite a lot of people to educate them. And recently, over the past years, we focused quite deeply into the education and making sure that people can learn and get to work quick. So we don't see any barriers within working with Scalability. A lot of people today are coming with React background, so it's quite simple for them to get onto this technology stack. And additionally, you just need to know how GraphQL resolvers work to start working with Scalability from Magento side. From Magento perspective, you just need to know resolvers. And that's a general concept that could be taught quickly. It requires just 3 files in Magento modules, so nothing else is pretty much interesting to you. So it's kind of avoiding all of Magento together, because initially we had the same goal like the William said. We wanted to make something light and quick, but we decided that trying to rewrite whole Magento and all of them, the templates, would be too tedious and wouldn't worth it. So we decided to write a completely new front end on a different technology. Yet there are delight people who like using the Magento templates and writing the code there. And there are people who like writing the React templates and having the code there. So Alpine.js it is, or React it is, or Magento PHTML it is. It's up to developers to decide. I think masters in computer science are not required. Any degree in computer science is not required to work, I think, with both of our tools. Yet some great understanding of how programming works would be good. You can switch to be a developer from any profession, I think, nowadays.
So it's quite clear in terms of for the developers, but let's look from the merchant's perspective. So for me as a merchant, or for any merchant for the matter of fact, why would I even care about changing my front end to something blah, blah, nice technology buzzword?
You're asking me or William?
Well, let's start with William. Let's see what he's got to say about this one.
Yeah, so I guess that's a good point in this panel to start talking about performance and specifically Pagespeed's performance, because I think that's what we advertised as the topic of this panel. So as a merchant, there's a couple of things. One, cost of ownership and the speed in which development happens. So how fast can you get your product done, and how fast can you get additional functionalities implemented? And secondly, how can you get a store that's performant, that renders quickly, and that Google and your customers really like? So if you're a merchant that comes from Luma, you're probably pretty frustrated with both of those. One, development speed is slow. It's expensive to get something changed. If you need to have a checkbox changed anywhere on your site, especially on checkout, you need to get a developer, and the developer needs to spend 6 hours preparing a new release and testing everything and getting that code in place. And performance-wise, Luma is rendering hundreds of files to render a homepage, and it needs, I think, 9 megabytes to render the homepage of a Luma store with demo data. So that's huge. And the way that that data is being rendered means that you have a waterfall effect. 1 file is loaded, and then 10 files are loaded, and then another 10, and that trickles down. And it's very hard to optimize. And we've tried for years to optimize Luma, and it's basically, it's very hard. There's some tooling to improve it, but to get really good scores, there's just too much. Let me look for a nice word. There's too much obsolete code that's being loaded. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of libraries that are loaded in that you never need for generating a calendar in the browser, which sometimes is used on the product page if you use a custom option that needs the date. But by default, loading a homepage means you get that library and 100 other libraries. So I think both headless solutions, PWA solutions, and HYVA are solving that issue. And yeah, there's a difference between the two approaches. You can talk about the scalability of PWAs. That's advertised as being easier, but it requires a lot of really specific knowledge how to scale a PWA. Well, Alfred's already mentioned caching layers, and so you need to pre-render a lot of data and make sure that that's always available at the edge, and it's always the latest version of the content that you need to load. And that's just a different approach than using the monolith that Magento is, that has been around for 14 years. What the current version, what is it, 7, 8 years? And there's a lot of knowledge there, and to properly code the backend to have it performant is doable. You can scale a monolith application with hardware and also with caching layers. So both of the solutions fit into this market, I think. So it comes down to what functionalities do you need? Are you working with composable commerce? Do you have a lot of SaaS applications and microservices around your store? It depends on a lot of questions. But I think it's the most important thing for HYVA to exist is that there's so many developers currently out there that can very easily switch to start building HYVA stores, because we built on top of existing knowledge, and we just removed a lot of complexity, and we make it really easy for someone to be productive in 2 or 3 days. If you are a Magento developer, to start work with HYVA is a really small step. If you're a React developer, it's probably a really small step to switch to one of the PWA solutions. So yeah, it's strategy for an agency, it's strategy for a merchant, and it depends on the developer that you hire. So yeah, I strayed away a bit from the original question, but why should a merchant choose for this? Well, if they have in-house developers that are experienced with PHP, it might be quicker, faster, cheaper to switch to HYVA. If you already have a React developer, it might be the case for Scandi to switch to Scandi or PWA Studio. But staying on Luma, long-term staying on Luma is the worst decision you can make. That's something even Adobe confirms and publicly markets right now. Like you should be looking past Luma at this stage.
I really liked how Eric from Adobe put it yesterday with saying you have to understand the cost of doing something, but you also have to understand the cost of not doing anything at all. And that probably what it boils down to. Alfred, do you have anything to add in terms of why merchants should choose new fancy front ends?
No, absolutely. You just said because it's a new fancy front end. Well, the amount of animation and visualization user experience possibilities that open up when you drop all of those bulky libraries that previously existed, when you switch to something much more powerful, directly optimized to render in a browser, is limitless. You can change pages, open pop-ups, do stuff which originally were possible, but always required a lot of work. And I think some of it is fixed by like using Alpine.js because it's also quite a templating library. But in the end of the day, writing everything in JavaScript is just a tiny bit easier. And also you get this possibility to transition between pages without actually reloading the page. And this comes with a lot of benefit, like, for example, reusing data which was previously on the page to render the product page or stuff like that. And that just makes the experience for the end customer seamless. You don't wait for the page to load, even if it wasn't cache. You just reuse the data which was previously available on category page to show some details right away. So there are a lot of possibilities to make your front end look fancy and to make it, I would say immediately, yeah, it's fancy. Just make it fancy. And if you're going if you are willing to make it pop, you can go for some a solution that renders on client, or you should go for some hybrid. That's another thing to choose. But sometimes I have seen stores that optimize Luma to a degree where it just works. It's not Luma in the end of the day. Yeah, it's a stripped off Luma, or it's simply a blank theme that is built from scratch. And they dropped all of these calendar selectors. But again, it takes so much effort and nobody's sharing this. So it's not worth it at this time. I would definitely go for HYVA or HYVA if I would want to like change my front end real quick to something that would improve my Google score performance right away. Like, why shouldn't I do it? Yeah, there is no reason. I think Scandi PWA in this degree or any other headless solution fits to a little bit larger customers and appeals to a little bit larger customers. It's yeah, so we can optimize one entry point for performance of large applications, like huge applications with a lot of data. It's much easier for GraphQL to handle it than for Magento sometimes, sadly. And yeah, and plus the animation possibility. So you should switch to a new front end if you have bad scores in Google and if you think that this affects your SEO and you tried everything to optimize your SEO and it didn't help you to attract more organic customers. And maybe your CRO agency is bad and they can't convert your customers well. Well, then you can blame your front end in the end of the day and start to invest into this. But first, I would, of course, go for trying your best to optimize search engine optimization and conversion rate optimization. Yeah, that's that's like a thing, because otherwise you can only, I would switch only if I had the real need for it, like I cannot afford such bad performance or something like this. Yeah.
Alfred's the Scandi PWA was originally built and still is an open source product, so it's available to any developer, any agency worldwide. What made Scandi PWA go this path? Why such a choice is made?
Oh, I can be honest with you. That's just us wanting to share what we've done. It's nothing else really. We always tried to expect some contribution from outside, but I think over the years, the general contribution into Scandi PWA was like, I don't know, maybe 500 lines of code. Like, that's nothing in compared to the general code base. But this is to depart our own problems, like us being unable to properly manage our community. I think HYVA is doing a better job here. So generally speaking, that's a lot of our mistakes, but I think keeping it open source is cool because it allows anyone to just go ahead and take a look at what it actually is, what is the quality of code, what we'll be dealing with, how these guys organize stuff. It's just a matter of looking at it and being able to to explore. Yeah. But there is a but. There's always a but. I think we are considering to switch to a paid model. I'm not to not really paid model, but we are considering to go more enterprise way, where we kind of provide the support for the customers, because that's what was really lacking all of these years. And I think we want to get a little bit closer with our community by making them trust us with their money. And I'm not sure how exactly we're going to do it. There are multiple ways, like making theme itself commercial, or by making every extension available for it commercial. So you get into the communication loop with us, and then we can help you with any request you want. I'm not sure how we will go about this. Currently, we are rebuilding the marketplace to make every extension that's available on Scandi PWA work great, and support it with the quality and like for years. And the same goes for themes. So if you're a merchant or if you're an agency, you get an access to all of these extensions, and you know that, oh, well, Scandi PWA could be free, but all of the extensions and themes that come with it will cost me a little bit of money. But in return, I will get a support from the core agency that's actually developed it, specifically ScandiWeb, and all of the resources that it has built over the years, to which includes education, which includes skilled workers, etc. So yeah, hope that answered something.
Okay, William, with HYVA, you've gone a completely different way, and it's a paid model. Are you trying to make this into a money-making machine, or what are the reasons behind it? What's the model there?
I think anyone that has a company is making a money machine. That's what having a company means. It's just different ways where you earn your money. If you're an agency, your business is implementing stores. And if you're developing a tool in-house and you also want to share that on the side, but your actual customers are paying for building that tool and you're sharing that work publicly as well, that's a different model. And then what you get in return for that is popularity, and people wanting to have Scandi implemented will look at you first to have a Scandi PWA site built. In my case, I had a vision for this not to be just a product, but this to be something more than that. To fill a place in the market with a true alternative for Luma, for a PHP template-based alternative that needed a lot of work, a lot of energy, and a lot of razor-sharp focus. So working at an agency or being an agency and also building the product on the side, for me was not an option, because I had a vision. I want to build this product, and that needs to become my living. And not just for me, I want to build a team, and I want to build a company that's behind this product. And I don't want to have the distraction of deadlines of customers. Of course, if you're doing this from an agency, you can always have dedicated people working on your products and other people working on implementations. But yeah, as the inventor of HYVA and the person that wanted to build a brand and a company behind it, I can't do that in the evenings. I can't do that in my spare time. I can't do that as an employee at an agency. So I'm building a company, and I'm building the trust with merchants, with hosting providers, with payment providers, with agencies, that if they give us some money, they can be sure that they get quality in return. And we're going to be around in 5 years and in 10 years because we have a viable business. So to be able to set a growth path to make sure that from the beginning, people had trust that there's traction, there's money going around, and the company is being built, and we're independent. We have Vinay Kopp that joined us as a partner. We have 2 employees and a designer working for us. And we spent an incredible amount in building the quality of the product, building out services around the product and support. I think we have some of the fastest support available. We have a community in Slack. Over 1,500 developers are working with our software, and a lot of those people are very willing to contribute and to support, because that's the atmosphere, the culture that we set. And we're on Slack almost 24/7. Any question that comes up, we answer as quickly as possible. We've spent a lot of time on making extensions compatible ourselves. I think we have over 140 extensions compatible with HYVA already. And we couldn't have done that without full-time focus on nurturing that community, supporting people, educating them, creating videos, writing documentation, and not being distracted by implementing stores. We're very strict in that. We have partners, we have agencies, suppliers that build the stores. We build the best possible tool for those agencies to use. And to ask money for that is the most natural thing I can think of, because we offer a lot in return for that. Just the time that you will save in optimizing your store is worth €1,000. And then all the tooling around it, the extensions that we make compatible, the education that we give, the support, for one-time €1,000, you get an incredible value in return for that. So I'm very happy we did this from the beginning. And as we grow, we might grow into a different, in somewhat different model with surrounding products and services around it, that might change something to the default price model that we have. But right now, people are telling us we're charged too less. Agencies are telling us we're booked for another year with doing HYVA. Merchants are used to paying for extensions. They already have thousands of euros in budget for extensions. Another €1,000 there doesn't hurt, because they're making money. It's their company, and it's making their money. So
yeah, I just have to say it's amazing model, and you did an amazing job. So nice stuff, really. I'm really happy to see some people just taking it as a business and not as a side like quest for a agency, as a general business, and focusing on community and what matters, delivering a great product. That's an applause. Good job. Yeah, amazing.
Thank you. It's so hard to get traction on open source products. Like, we have the React checkout that's open source, and it's so hard to get traction on contributions. And a lot of people are using it, but hardly anyone is contributing to it. So that's not a model that always works. You can see with some open source products that it goes really well, but they get backing from big investors. I don't really want to do that. But if you look at few storefront, they're taking a lot of money to be able to build a product from VCs, from investors. That's a solid approach. They're building a really cool company. But if you look at others like PWA Studio, we outgrew them last month. We're bigger than PWA Studio, who's been around for 4 years. So open source doesn't mean quicker growth or a more sustainable business. In our case, the opposite. So I'm happy that I can look forward to building this out and having a future with this product and our customers.
Yeah, that's amazing. You indeed, like a feeling when you see HYVA and people speaking about this is like, first, it's something they care about. And second is that it will stay around for some time. With Scalability, it's a little bit different story, because we always were a part of an agency underneath. We always tend to focus quite a lot on business needs that were current to the agency that we are part of. And I myself had switched focus like multiple times, working almost a year then on different agency specific things apart from Scalability. And this is always a balance, and for us it was about making a cool product that can appeal to some customers, making sure it's publicly available and cool, but we never really focused about the community, and we never got in return as much as you did. And I think the efforts you've put into community building and into building trust, first of all, with the parties involved is amazing. So that's a great job, and I would really love to try to follow these steps to maybe build something more interesting from Scandi PWA product in the future. So it's a great example. I would say it's a success. So it's great stuff, and I'm really happy to see you, to talk with you, and with ScandiWeb itself uses HYVA products internally for customers. So indeed, we can say that you've built a great tool, and we are really happy to have you here. Yeah.
I want to move this conversation further into the conversation. Alfred's already mentioned that obviously the Scandi PWA has the ScandiWeb's backing and everything, and it's a product that's being created internally from our side. But nevertheless, and we are very open and outspoken about it. We're also an official partner of HYVA Themes, and we're starting delivering projects also on that. With that solution, because for me personally, working from the business development perspective and speaking to many different clients on a daily basis, there are different problems that need to be solved, and different problems have different tools to resolve those. So I personally see Scandi PWA and HYVA both as wonderful tools, fit for slightly different purposes, and they're both a good fit in different situations. But what I did want to raise and ask probably to the source code creators themselves, sometimes there are some potential pain points for merchants. And are there any conditions that you would suggest not to consider starting a new front-end project built on HYVA, PWA, or other solution? William?
I always start off with this. If you're unhappy with where you are currently, the first step is always to evaluate if you're on the right platform at all. A lot of people made the wrong decision in choosing that platform in the first place. And if you're a small merchant that's struggling with making a living out of your store, maybe you aim too high and you have a platform that's too costly to maintain at the moment. So not every tool is always the best tool. I think people that say you should always use Magento are wrong. People that say you should always use Shopify are wrong. It starts with evaluating, are you in the right place, and should you invest in building a new front end, because that's going to cost money. And we can prove you mountains in conversions and sales and earning all of the money back. But if your business is not there yet, if you don't have the budget to get good content on your site, good images, because a lot of brands are doing fantastically on very bad stores. They have the worst performance. They put a 10 megabyte video on the homepage and they're selling like crazy because they have a really strong brand. So you could sell a lot of products with a bad store. I think the first thing is you should make sure that your investment is made in the right solution. Then if you have the budget to invest in a better front end, you have sales and you have volume to earn more money on, if your conversion rates were only better. So if you can see that the conversion rate is your issue and you have the budget to tackle it, you should definitely invest in getting a better front end, and you should evaluate and look into the different solutions and get informed on what the best front end is for your store, for your catalog, the amount of products, for the brands that you're in, for the services that are that make up your business, not just the store, but also your fulfillment, your accounting software, whatever. And yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. Like you should be aware that you're investing your money in the right place, because building a new front end will always cost you money. The place where HYVA will be most costly in rebuilding a front end is if you use a lot of extensions that are not yet compatible with HYVA, which also goes for any other new front end solution. That also goes for all of the PWA solutions. If you're lucky, extensions are already compatible. If you're a little bit lucky, there's GraphQL endpoints, so you can rebuild the functionality in the front end. And in many cases, there's nothing yet for PWA. And with HYVA, you would need to refactor a bit of the front-end code because we use all of the back-end logic. It's perhaps slightly the same as with Scandi PWA because you also still use the back-end functionality from Magento. So you can build on top of existing code, but making extensions compatible will be something that you have to invest in if you use a lot of extensions. Now, what we hear typically from any front-end build is that you save 30 to 50% on any custom work that you do on a HYVA front end compared to Luma and PWA Studio. So agencies are telling us that they're saving at least 30% of time in building their front end. So the costly part is custom functionalities that need to be built and extensions that need to be made compatible.
That's a very good answer. Thank you, Alfred. Any bullet points that you would want to suggest when not to step into React or other JavaScript frontends?
First, amazing words by William. Absolutely, yeah. If you have some problems with other things, then the front end, fix them first, because I wouldn't say that a new website is what will save your business. Of course, it will cost you a lot of money, and then you might not get what you expected because the problem was your content all the way, or some campaigns you're running. But in the end, when using or when deciding what to go with, I think you should look at the price range first, because some the solutions will be cheaper, some solutions will cost more money, and that's maybe due to what providers are providing them, of course, in other regions and stuff. And another thing I would say is that likely you might hire some consultant or to speak with someone who can suggest you a better solution, because deciding on your own is sometimes tricky. I mean, yeah, you could select the most hyped or most talked about product, but it doesn't guarantee you pretty much a success. So you better talk to an expert, like some architectural solution specialist or whatever, and only then decide. I think making architectural decisions is important. So maybe like that. General pain points with Scandi PWA, what you will get to work with React. So if your agency you're hiring with is not efficient in doing that, you might get delays in your development. ScandiWeb itself is efficient, so if hiring ScandiWeb, well, expect a quick and fast delivery. But for other agencies, that's different, because we never built such great trust with them like HYVA did. So potentially, if you're hiring for HYVA, of course, choose any agency, because there is now the most preferred one. So they will likely all deliver on this similar level. So I would say hire a specialist, talk to him, put all of your catalog sizes, integrations to consideration, and go for it if you're really sure that the new frontend will save the day for you.
I have 1 minute to cover a question from the audience, and I think it's a quite often raised one. What about Bwa and SEO? I can only imagine that the question is probably revolving around A, benefits, and B, how to resolve some issues that are coming along with Bwa. In very short, Alfred.
I told previously, the search engine optimization right now is possible, and it's like it works as normal for the real websites, because we pre-render the applications. Of course, for client-side rendered applications, SEO will always be a problem until you start pre-rendering them. And with ReadyMage, I think so we build this infrastructure for ourselves that we share. So with ReadyMage, the Magento hosting provider that hosts PWA Studios, Candy PWA, Magento 2, you get pre-render right out of the box. So this is what most of the companies that agents or merchants that go with ScandiWeb are using in the end. And they are using, they get amazing SEO without no problems. If you are a smaller merchant and you are trying to do it on your own and trying to avoid all of those different hosting providers, well, likely you will have some problems. Don't want to have problems, like go for ReadyMage. I think with HYVA it will be easier because, well, you get it right away. It just works on any server. So definitely it requires some tweaking.
Okay. Question to you, William. Let's say, how do you start with HYVA? Where do I go? Where do I sign up?
HYVA.io. So that's HYVA.io. Without the dots works. You require a license to get to actually get the code and get access to our support and Slack and GitLab. If you first want to learn more about it, our documentation is open, so you can see a lot of code examples and how HYVA works internally by just reading the docs. There's a whole instruction course recorded by Vinay Kopp on our YouTube. So if you go to YouTube and then HYVA Teams, you search for it, you'll find our channel. There's a whole course on how to make extensions compatible with HYVA. So that's a really in-depth training in how things work in HYVA. And we're working on more videos there, really beginner starting courses, what HYVA does and how you work with it. And there's a training from Yirio that you can do online. So that's a video course that's also for beginners and medium advanced. So that's where you can start and learn. And if you really want to take a deep dive, get a license and start playing with it.
Alfred, where do we sign up for Scandi PWA? What's the process?
If you're a developer, you can just get it from GitHub. The docs are there. It's, I think, one single command to get the theme and peaks, create Scandi PWA app, and then you type in the folder you want it to appear in. And that's as easy as it gets. If you're a partner, you can fill in the form at ScandiWeb website, and you will get the mentions of your products within the partners directory. You will get access to education, docs, and stuff. So, yeah, easy.
All right. All right. Well, are there any, Alfred, perhaps are there any major updates coming out on Scandi PWA?
Yeah, we are building the second generation of Scandi PWA theme. Generally, we just migrating to TypeScript and doing some general enhancements that we were wishing to do for quite a long period of time. The theme was coded like almost 3 to 4 years ago, which now led to a lot of technologies being outdated because, well, the front end is not waiting. It's always developing and going somewhere. So to catch up with those new technologies, we now have to adjust a little bit. Our updates will be sequential, so they won't break stuff. So yeah, there will be major releases, but they will still keep the extension compatibility that you had and stuff. But with some iterations, like in a year or maybe in a year, yeah, you will likely have a completely different architecture in terms of how components are rendered and that stuff, just to keep it more up to date.
Anything we can expect from HYVA in the next year or two?
Next year or two, oh yeah, loads. If we look closer and more nearby, we're building a UI component library That's a drag and drop component for headers, footers, and galleries, and all sorts of things. So that's very much like tailwindui.com, where you can just drag and drop components into your HYVA theme. We're building a complete new checkout that will work both with HYVA and with Luma. Initially just with HYVA, but then also with Luma. And that's a complete rebuild of how checkouts are being done in Magento. So then we can finally say goodbye to UI components from Magento and Knockout.js and Require.js. So that will be super customizable with different layouts. It will be super easy to get a one-step checkout or multiple step. You can very easily add extra steps. And it's using MageWire. And that's something, if you're a developer, you also want to look into. MageWire.io or .com, I think, is a new technology. It also comes from the Laravel ecosystem, which is an alternative way to not write JavaScript in the front end, but actually in PHP in the back end. So a lot of Magento developers will love that. And it will make customizing checkouts super easy. So we're very excited about that. So we'll have news about that in the upcoming months. We're currently in alpha testing with 10 agencies. So we're moving towards a beta. So I think next quarter we will release the new checkout, and the UI components are also quite far.
Gentlemen, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you both today. I had Willem Wigman from HYVA Themes and Alfred Gelkins from Scandi PWA. Thank you so much for the conversation.